Hello, welcome to Spotlight on Souris, brought to you by WCG TV, Access Channel 12. Today is April 3rd, 2018. My name is Laura Higgs, and today we have with us Julie Russell, who is the new Economic Development Officer right here in Souris. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you for having me.
And congratulations.
Why, thank you very much.
When did you start the position?
I started the position on, I believe it was March 12th, so this is my fourth week, starting my fourth week here.
Wow.
Third week, fourth week, yeah.
Yeah, coming along.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about yourself.
Sure. I grew up in Sinclair, which is about 8 minutes west of Reston. It's right on the Manitoba-Saskatchewan border. It's
Okay.
about 45 minutes away from Souris. So Souris is pretty much home for me. I have two older brothers. They both reside in Reston now. They both work in the oil field. My parents still live in the same spot in Sinclair on an acreage. They're both retired now. My dad is retired from the oil field, and my mom's a retired nurse. So, yeah.
So do you drive in every day, or are you going to be soon moving here?
No, I just moved here this past
okay.
weekend, actually. So no more commuting. It was a very short time that I was commuting, but I was pretty sick of it pretty fast.
Yeah.
It didn't seem very long, but coming and going, and yeah.
Yeah, it's still
It was
close
early
enough.
mornings.
Yeah.
I'm not a morning person,
Yeah.
so they took its toll, and I was super happy to finally be here.
And
Yeah.
45 minutes, not far to go home and visit, is it?
No,
really?
it's not. It's perfect. I feel like I'm home. So yeah, Souris is nice and close. So definitely, when people say it's like, yeah, I've moved home.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
So what is your background in community development?
Sure. So I have a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Regina. I majored in physical geography, which is earth sciences. I minored in geology. So with that, I intended to go into the field of planning. I was very lucky while I was going to university to work for the province of Saskatchewan as a community planner and a planning consultant for a large region of Saskatchewan around the Yorkton area.
Oh.
And then I was lucky enough to be asked to stay on once I completed my degree. So I continued working with the province as a planner until I got offered a position being the manager of community development for Gilbert Plains Municipality, which was very exciting and a huge opportunity to move a little closer to home. But yeah, and the big focus for me was that I would be able to do what I love, which of course is in the planning and development field, but work more hands-on and community-based. Being a planner for the province, you oversee a very large region. And you consult a large region, so everything is very, very hands-off. So I like the aspect of being able to be more hands-on and focus in one community and work on more project-based things rather than having just to oversee and do things more hands-off. So it was a huge opportunity. And
So what's your favorite part of that line of work?
Oh, I have many. I would say for actually in the community development, probably projects. My big thing is capital projects and developments. That really stems right down from planning and what I went to school for. Basically, in school, I did a lot in city planning, so it's bringing it down into smaller towns. So that's exciting. So with capital projects, you're able to, whether it be big or small, whether it's just projects that are worth a few $1,000s or projects that I even worked on when I was still up in Gilbert Plains. We did have one large one that was around the $1 million mark. And so that was exciting finding, no matter what, when you get funding or figure out that project's actually going to be able to move forward, those were the things that were pretty huge for me. Whether it was small things, like I said, that are a few $1,000s, and once they're completed, it doesn't matter what scale they are, they bring the community together, and being a part of that is huge once something's completed.
It's an accomplishment.
It's an accomplishment, and for some reason, it's those things that bring a community together and say, wow, that's finished, and we have that now, and look at what we did. It just, the pride that comes from different community members, and it's awesome to be a part of. And if you can do a few of those each year, Obviously, the smaller ones, maybe a bigger one over a course of a couple years. But yeah, that's something that's definitely one of my
You must
favorite
need
parts.
to bring a lot of creativity to that.
Yes, I do love that part of it, especially. I didn't realize until I got into the field more economic development, community development. Obviously, there's the portion of economic development is tourism and marketing that community. And I didn't realize I had that niche until I got into it, that I actually do have a niche for marketing design, that creative aspect of it. I didn't realize I had it or how much I loved it. It's obviously very different from like planning and development and capital things, but it was a really pleasant surprise to come across the fact that I enjoy it and that I'm good at it. And also there's overwhelming and more stressful situations when it comes to the job, but it's always nice to be able to put those aside at any point in time and be like, I'm going to work on the marketing, or I have to get this part done, and it's more of a creative outlet. So that's always nice to have in a job, kind of having both.
So then what are you looking forward to the most as at your position here in Souris?
I'd say for Souris, it's really exciting what's happening here for the fact that I'd say that Souris has momentum. It's already established for sure in terms of its tourism sector. And also it has a business sector that's developed and it has momentum as well. It not only has the staple businesses that you need to survive and towns need to have for people to need or want to be able to live here, but there's also the unique businesses that make people want to live here and also people want to visit and come back. So that's exciting to be able to build on. Also, its proximity to Brandon, similar to Gilbert Plains. Gilbert Plains obviously was a bedroom community to Dauphin, about the same amount of time away. And it's nice because Souris has what you actually would call a bedroom community. It has those services and, again, those staple businesses that actually make a bedroom community, and you can market that. Gilbert Plains lacked it a bit to actually be able to call it a bedroom community because it maybe didn't have all the services that you would need to have a bedroom community, but Souris for sure has it, so it's exciting because you can market it. It's basically its own thing, for sure. It's kind of its own umbrella in terms of marketing as a bedroom community, so that's just another thing that it already has a momentum which is really nice to have.
So, what are some real memorable projects that you've worked on in your days working in community development?
I would say one of the coolest things I've done so far in my career is Gilbert Plains is actually featured on Still Standing, CBC Still Standing. That was in September that we aired, and making that come to fruition was huge. It was probably the coolest thing to ever be a part of. The process of getting them to come and or even consider Gilbert Plains to be on the show, but also the fact of once it did start like kind of seeming like they were interested in us and trying to build the storylines and talk to people and figure out what makes our story so interesting. And then finally, even again, getting a little closer to thinking like, wow, we might actually be on the show. And then once they announced that they were actually coming out to film, that was super exciting, just the process of having all the crew and the cameras and figuring out, I was a project manager of all that for that entire week, figuring out and making sure that everyone...
A lot of logistics.
Yeah, it was huge. And then that was in October, so it was almost a year later that we aired, but that whole year was busy just with planning and prepping, and the buzz never died until shortly after we did air, and we of course had our big airing party in September when it did air in the town, so that was huge. And then obviously you see it on the show where people obviously are in a venue in the town and everyone sits there and it's the comedy show, so that was pretty special. So that was probably one of the coolest things that I've been able to do. Not a lot of people get to do it, obviously. It's rare, so it's something that I can say that I got to do and was lucky enough to be a part of.
Any other projects that come to mind?
I would say capital projects. I really love them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just a big advocate for, I think communities just need to have short-term and long-term planning in terms of capital projects. I'm a big believer in the fact of, my thing for capital projects is grants, which is another reason why I love them so much, is because all the capital projects I've been able to work on have been almost completely funded by grants, big or small. So I would say that, and again, having worked in municipalities for the last several years now, the big thing is, taxpayers don't want to pay more money, and so you want to find ways that you can have these projects and build the community without having to put in special levies or increase people's taxes or increase the fees, the user fees for facilities or for programming, because again, it goes full circle. You bring in these new things, but then no one can afford them.
Right.
So that's my big thing, is just making sure there's that balance of keeping the community going and building without being detrimental to the people who already live there.
Right.
Yeah.
We're here all the time, and
Yeah.
good for our tourists as well as the community
Exactly.
people.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Anything else you'd like to share with us, Julie? I see you're really excited to get going.
Oh, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
exciting. It's exciting to be in a new community and just figuring out the lay of the land and how things work and some of the things that have been going on and figuring out how I'm going to be a part of them and some of the things that are needed and how we can get those started. So it's always exciting coming to a new community. To me, it's a new community in terms of work, but it's also not a new community in terms of knowing some people and knowing the lay of the land a little bit. So it's kind of best of both worlds being back in Souris.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, then we welcome you home in that
Thank
case.
you. Yeah,
Julie.
thank you.
Julie Russell, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
This is Spotlight on Souris. My name is Laura Simons, and I'd like to thank our producer, Sheila Kirkup, and our cameraman, Mark Cranwell. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a great day.